Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a great week. It's almost time for the weekend. If you stand on your tippy toes, you can actually see the weekend. Today is October 28, 2022, and this is your Friday planning video. There are a lot of newsworthy items for today, so let's jump right in. First of all, as you have no doubt heard, there is a student debt relief program. There's taken applications. The last I heard, of the 43 million borrowers and $1.6 trillion, the loan debt relief program has already received 22 million applications. Checks will go out. Well, no one knows. Why? Well, the courts have temporarily blocked payments from going out. While the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals decides, the case at hand is being brought by 6 Republican-led states, including South Carolina. It's being brought arguing that the federal relief program will hurt the state-based loan companies that manage some of the federal loans. Now, just overnight, the president actually said he thinks the checks will go out within the next 2 weeks, so we'll see how that happens. In the meantime, applications are coming in, and the education secretary said to keep applying. Chances are we'll see a decision soon, so stay tuned. This is only one of the cases that's being brought, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, next news, retirement savings. That's not news. We talk about that all the time here. The news is that we've seen another adjustment that has been made that we can thank the high inflation for. This time, retirement plan contribution limits. Now remember, we've just had Social Security payments set to increase by 8.7% in 2023. Now retirement contribution limits. For 2023, IRA and Roth contributions up to $6,500 from $6,000, and the catch-up stays at $1,000 extra for those over 50. Income limits are going up as well. We saw tax rate categories change. Back to the retirement plans, for the 401k, 403b, and 457 plans, $22,500 if you're under 50, and over 50, add another $7,500. Yes, $30,000 for those over 50. Remember, that does not count your company's match. So what to do with this information? Nothing right now, but I'll be reminding you about this as we get into 2023. As many of you make your monthly contributions to your IRAs or your Roths or your corporate retirement plans, you'll want to change those amounts, if you can, to meet the new annual limits. That is probably all of the breaking planning news for now. I'm sure that there'll be more to come. We'll be watching for the Secure Act 2.0 to pass in Congress. That's set to change catch-up limits on the retirement plans, as well as possibly change the RMD ages again. Speaking of passing things in Congress, did you know that a bill passed the Senate in March known as the Sunshine Protection Act? And before you make the jokes that we need that in Chicago as the sun is about to go down for the winter, this act, which may come up for a vote in the House after the midterms, will end the twice-a-year changing of the clocks. No more fall back and spring forward. Of course, if you watch Schoolhouse Rock, you know that the life of the bill still needs to make it through committee. Then if it's passed by the House and the Senate, the president will have to sign it. You can't make this stuff up. I read that if this passes, sunrise on Christmas Day could be as late as 8:15 a.m. So aside from watching Congress and the clocks, let's review some good year-end, especially bad market year-end actions to consider. I always talk about the long term with you, and yes, if you're setting yourself up for retirement, you may have some time. How about putting away for your little one for college or graduate studies? So 529 college savings plans are interesting thoughts to think about now, especially if you get a state tax break or if your child is young with the market down. We don't know if it will be down more in the short term, but for now, with the time horizon from 10 to 18 years, it may be a good time to invest in a 529 plan. Let's talk about the biggest misconceptions of 529 plans. Myth number 1, only parents can invest. This is not true at all. These accounts are open game for everybody. Grandparents, parents, siblings, friends, even random strangers can contribute to your child's 529 plan. Remember, there are limits, and one of the best use of 529 plans I've seen is when people ask for birthday party gifts to go to the 529. We only need so many toys, no? So, myth number 2, 529s can only be used for traditional 4-year college program. This is an obvious one. There are so many different ways to get higher education these days. These monies can be used for colleges and universities, but they don't have to be used for only in-state schools either. 529s can be used for eligible graduate school, community colleges, 2-year colleges, vocational and trade schools, and even certain apprenticeships. Also, don't forget the 529s can now be used also to repay up to $10,000 of student loan debt. Okay, myth number 3, too much risk. There's too much risk that money will go to waste. Now, this is a concern that goes to a client of mine who over 10 years ago told me that he did not want to do 529s for his grandchildren, as his granddaughter was going to win the Miss Tennessee contest and his grandson would be getting a full ride to the University of Tennessee football program. They are not done with school yet, but so far they are still paying tuition for those two. The rules allow that money that is not used by one family member, it can be passed on to others. This is not just siblings, but if you can convince your cousins that you're worthy, maybe they'll make you the beneficiary of their leftover 529 money. Worst case scenario, the money can be withdrawn in an emergency with a 10% penalty on the earnings portion. Myth number 4, it will ruin financial aid. Parent-owned financial plans are actually treated better than student-owned plans for FAFSA. There is a special way to handle the grandparents' 529s also, so let me know if you have questions to this. The treatment for these investments are often a better choice than not investing in down markets. Myth number 5, it's useless if my child gets a scholarship. We spoke about this a moment ago, but just to be clear, there are usually plenty of other uncovered expenses above and beyond tuition. Myth number 6, uncovered as I mean that are not covered by the scholarship, but covered by the 529 plan. So sorry to make that clear. Myth number 6, now is a bad time. As I said before, with a long time horizon, this can be a good time to start or further contribute to your 529 plan. Okay, so that's all for 529 plans, for a 529 lesson today. Before I let you go into the weekend, here are a few last minute things we'll work on to help with taxes as we come to the end of the year. Did you think I was going to forget it? No, I don't provide personal tax advice, but I'm ready to work with you and your tax advisor to plan some good courses for next year. Okay, just a few more before we go. First, as I mentioned this a few weeks ago, I'll be asking you if your 2021 taxes provided any surprises that we can try to plan for in 2023. Also, maybe a broken record, tax loss selling. And the other side of that, harvesting capital gains, maybe even to offset some of your losses. There are some ideas on the tax loss side. There are some ideas on the tax loss idea. Remember, sometimes we have to look at the silver lining to the clouds. As we go into the new year, I've already told you to adjust your monthly retirement investments, but also you want to check with your tax professional. Maybe you need to change your withholdings or something along those lines. Audit. Okay, now this is not the bad kind of audit. This is the beneficiary audit. We speak about this a lot. We spoke about it last week about how this happens, but again this week I had a last-minute beneficiary discussion. The scrambling at this level is pretty intense. Rebecca and I will be asking you about this in the coming weeks. Please, let's check together to see if you have all of that profile information filed in and set correctly. RMD and QCD, not just alphabet soup, but all RMDs, aside from year one that allows you for a short deferral. All other RMDs deadlines December 31st. QCD, qualified charitable distributions, these are also operate on a year-end cycle. Finally, I want to talk about an old friend, asset location, not asset allocation. That's the investment side. Asset location is often used for tax efficiency. I'll give you 3 rules of thumb, but please work with your tax advisor and myself, and we can see if this is good for you. Rule of thumb number 1, but not always right for you. First, place investments with low expected returns, such as bonds, important to your portfolio, into tax-deferred accounts. Next, place high expected return stocks like growth stocks into tax-free Roth IRAs. And finally, if you're counting on a stock to get most of the return from capital appreciation, try the taxable account. Long-term capital gains rate may be the lesser of the taxes to deal with. This is for sure one to work with myself and your accountant on. So that's enough for today. Winter seems to be on its way, and with it, many things will go over as the end of the year approaches, and even as we move into 2023. This has been a difficult year, to say the least. We'll need to take advantage of all that we can as this year closes and 2023 opens. As we meet in the coming months, I'll have a lot of ideas to share with you about how we can best try to keep your tax liabilities low. We know it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. So it'll be time to do all that we can. Please come back Monday for the Monday Market Update, and please respond when we reach out to you to set up a year-end meeting. Have a great weekend.